And if the storms don't cease, and if the wind keep on blowing in my life, my soul has been anchored in the Lord.
Hello, this is your host, Marshall Fields, and welcome to Positive Communication Habits and Thought Process, or PCHATP for short. Here we talk about real-life experiences and mindsets that help us navigate difficult conversations, even if we're just talking to ourselves. We can change the world by changing how we talk to it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of PCHATP, where today we're going to explore the transformative power of music. I'm your host, Marshall Fields, and we have a very special guest. He is an accomplished music producer, director, American baritone, lecturer at the University of Kentucky. Those talents have taken him to the world's most prestigious stages. Please join me in welcoming internationally known Dr. Michael Preacely.
Hey, thank you so much, Marshall. Wow, what a heck of an introduction. I realized that I did all that stuff. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to be chatting with you here today.
Well, it's definitely my pleasure. In addition to all of his incredible credentials, he's also my friend. So I just thank you for joining us. It's an honor to have you here and to get to pick your brain and just get to know you better, and then also talk about some things that I will help folks unpack how the world has been impacted by your music, and also how your world has been impacted by music. So
absolutely,
I just want to hop right in. Your career is truly remarkable, and you're one of those friends that I'm like, yeah, that's my friend. I know that guy. But you've had a significant impact on the world of music. So I'm curious, could you tell us about your journey and how you discovered your passion for performing?
Absolutely. First of all, you, Marshall, definitely are a wonderful friend, and not only a friend, but you are a trailblazer in this community as well, in the community at large. Just your presence and your what you believe in is paramount to the forward movement of our society, and for that I am grateful and I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And here I am, a part of that experience. You are a part of my world, my experience, the people with whom I've impacted and who have impacted me. Music has played a vital part in my life. When I started out on the musical path, I didn't know that everything that I do would be associated in some way, shape, or form with my voice. I knew that I had some type of gift, largely because it was told, not necessarily because that's what I heard in my own voice. But eventually, when someone tells you something long enough, you begin to believe it. And as you begin to believe it, you begin to cultivate it in a way that is acceptable to you and ultimately acceptable to others as well. And so that's been my life. That's been my plight. I've found myself singing for someone or a group of people or thousands of people at one time, and the effect that it has on the crowd and the mood that it changes in the room, and all these things, the goosebumps that I get and others get from me performing, and that has been truly a blessing. To know that I have that type of gifting. And, I've been wanting to share that not only with the people around the world, but be able to teach others to tap into some of that potential as well. And it has been a journey in so many ways, from the beginnings of my time in Chicago to moving to New Jersey. To moving over to this amazing bluegrass, Kentucky, and now as I rest here in Kentucky and build on the future generations. It's been a wonderful journey.
Well, I can tell you, just speaking as someone who's been an audience member, listening to you perform, you're spot on. You definitely reach into people's souls when you sing, and I know that it's okay to cry. I don't have a problem
Mm-hmm.
crying, but I don't cry often.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you, on more than one occasion, when I've heard you perform Usachime
Mm-hmm.
and Amazing Grace,
Mm-hmm.
you've hit me. And I'm like, first of
Mm-hmm.
all, I'm not supposed to be in my feelings right now like this. I don't appreciate it. There's dust. It's allergy season. I don't know what's going on. But I mean, that's a power. That's a power because so many of
Mm,
us, and just speaking as a man, so many of us are disconnected with some of our feelings. So to be able to evoke something
absolutely.
that people can't even evoke themselves, that's like a
Mhm.
superpower. And, you know,
You know,
it
I think that's
is.
part of what we do, Marshall. You know, part of what we do as human beings, we should be able to, you should be able to go into a bank and sit with a bank teller and be touched. You should be able to go to the store and a butcher, you know, be touched by the way that meat was cut just to perfection.
Mm,
You know, I think the love and care and commitment that one gives to their crafts lends a certain amount of response from the person who's receiving or on the receiving end of that love and that care and that work. I've been in countless situations where people have moved me, not necessarily in the arts, but in their craft, in their thing, whatever that is that they are doing, and they've touched me tremendously based on the commitment and love and what they put of themselves into what they do. And I think that's so important. When I get on stage, I don't count it robbery to be there at that moment. I have a job to do, and I don't take it lightly at all. I take it very seriously. Sometimes people get on me because of my serious nature of my look, but it's not the serious nature of the look, but the intent with which I
intentional.
put into my music to make that moment special for those who have the opportunity to be there to hear. I consider myself to be a live performer more so than a recorded one. It is sometimes it's hard to replicate what you've done live in a recording because it's live. It's for the people in the room and it's for that moment and that time. And I'm a firm believer in that.
Mm. I'm going to agree with you on that and just take it to, the world that I live in.
Hello,
There
this
have
is your
been
host, Marshall
many a
Fields, and
times
welcome
where
to
I have
Positive Communication
said
Habits and
something
Thought
during a
Process,
seminar
or
or delivered something
PCHATP for
during a
short. Here
workship.
we talk about
And then
real-life
I go to make
experiences
a
and
video of
mindsets
that
that
thing
help us
sitting in my
navigate difficult
desk in my
conversations,
office,
even
nobody
if we're just
around.
talking to
And I'm
ourselves.
like, it just does
We
not
can
feel the
change the
same.
world
I
by
can't,
changing.
Just doesn't hit the
it
same.
doesn't hit the same. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
it felt different when I was talking to people and connecting with people. So that makes sense. That I get where
Yeah.
you're coming from. I think being able to sing and create music is similar to being able to have a good conversation or create a delicious meal, like food
Ooh.
or words.
Yeah.
Music is consumed as well. Even so,
Mm.
most music and culinary artists, they have guilty pleasures. Like, for example, Gordon Ramsay, world-renowned chef, he loves a good old double cheeseburger with all the fixings. Wolfgang Puck, equally famous and talented, he likes a simple pizza, hold the red sauce. From a musical standpoint, do you have like a fast food version of music that you enjoy listening to, kind of like a auditory guilty pleasure?
Oh, that's good. I like that. You know, I'm so eclectic in my musical tastes that it's hard to pinpoint exactly what that is. But for for the purposes of time, so I don't have to think about it very long. You know, '90s rap is something that I love. I always have. You know, I love the messages behind it. I love a lot how smooth the MCs are, and the bad part about it is that like when you say an MC's name, then I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that's that person's name. I don't remember anybody's name. I swear, I never have. I'm horrible at remembering names of artists. Isn't that bad? My family, they're very, very good at that. But I do remember a tone that I hear, a lyric that I've heard, and it just moves me. That's a guilty pleasure. I find myself putting on that type of music every now and then. When I'm riding in my car, sometimes I let down all the windows, open up the moon roof, and just blast and just ride. I don't do that to Vivaldi or Bach or whatever. So.
As soon as you said 90s rap, I thought of this song Tennessee. And speaking of not being able to remember names, I can't remember the name, but I tell you what, I'm going to edit it in and I'm going to put a picture of it to promote it as a form of forgiveness. See, here it is.
Yeah.
So, but no, the rhythm, like take me to another place, take me to another land.
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah,
anyway,
buddy. No doubt.
90s. I get you on that.
Yeah.
So just talk.
Diggable Planets. That's one of my big groups. I love that. Diggable Planets.
Diggable?
Is Diggable or Digital?
Digital Planets. Diggable Planet. I think it might be Diggable, but I know who you're talking about.
I think it's Diggable Planets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Feel that. All right. So just getting back to some of your skills and kind of how they translate, your ability to cross between genres is kind of ridiculous. It's very impressive, but you effortlessly transition from classical repertoires to pop, contemporary, and Broadway. So do you feel like that transition, that ability to transition, is kind of like a metaphor for life and the genres that we face during different seasons?
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons why I'm starting my organization here in Lexington. We'll probably get to this later on in our time together. But Uniting Voices Lexington, the primary point of that organization is really to cross genres, to really pull from all parts of who we are as a people, as a country, as a world. You go to any parts of the globe and you're going to hear all different types of music within our young people. Our young people listen to, my children's Spotify and YouTube is like ridiculous in terms of their eclectic nature. You have anything from Frank Sinatra to the newest hip hop group that's popular right now, whoever that is, because that's just not my thing. But I can appreciate that. I can appreciate the different types of genres and being able to sing them because they are a part of us as human beings. And I also find when I am hired to perform the trumpet shall sound on the same program as this Christmas. I actually did that like last Christmas. So I'm singing the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised to hang o'er the mistletoe. I'm gonna get to know you better. And that's who I am. That's part of my pedigree, part of my DNA. My grandmother raised me on all different types of music. And so all of that is in this data bank. And I'm so blessed to be able to sing that to people and for myself in ways that really give good meaning and good, what is that word I'm looking for? Integrity to the styles of music.
So do you listen to country music ever?
I don't necessarily listen to my son, Joshua. He's turned me onto a couple country. The wonderful thing I love about country music, and I'm not a fan of all at all, by no means. The same thing, I'm not a fan of all hip hop, not of all R&B either, right. There are several, what is that guy name? What's his name? Clint Black is one of my favorite all-time country stars. Garth Brooks, love him, love the storyline. I love the huskiness of his voice. And the new one, African-American young man, Dane, or I forget his name.
I know who you're talking about.
Young guy.
I know who you're talking
about. Yeah,
but
he's really, really, really good. I love the lyrics, love his voice, so smooth. I love the twang of the voice. Sometimes I just really, I like mellow, I call it in the pocket instruments. They really move me a great deal.
Okay.
in country music.
So we've talked a lot about music, and we're going to get back to that for sure. But not only things that we hear, but things that we see can, help us get to know people and kind of get to know what their world, what their universe looks like. So let's talk about what you posted. All right.
It's a great picture.
What's going on here?
Pictures. Well, my wife and my family, I have 3 boys, one who's about to start college here in the fall, another one who's going into his last year of middle school, and another one who's in 3rd grade, going into the 3rd grade. We all had the chance to go to Egypt last summer. It's been a year. I can't believe that. And those pictures that we see are actually on a cruise. We took a cruise. No, the first one is in Cairo. It's behind there. Believe me, is the tomb, the tomb of the kings, and there are all different kings who are buried, and some of them we don't even know where the graves are. They're all under like this underground tunnel of graves that are still yet being discovered today. And in the back is the Pyramid of the Kings. And those are just two statues. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's a grave site that we went to, and we thought that was a great picture, and we took it. To the right is a picture of a sunset on a Nile cruise that we took, my wife and I. I couldn't resist that amazing sunset, and I'm like, we got to take this picture. And so my youngest son, my oldest son, he took that picture of us, my wife and I, on that. No, my middle son, he was with us. The youngest and the oldest were still on the ship. They stayed on the ship. They didn't even come on the excursion.
I think once you have more than 2 kids, names are optional.
Right.
I had to go. You know who I'm talking to.
You know who I'm talking about. That one.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, Marshall, that was a life-changing experience for my boys, and also for us as a family. I thought that was great for us to experience, all 5 of us, for us to experience that together, to see all of these amazing, parts of history, parts of African history, was really breathtaking. And we, and I was there with the Chicago Children's Choir, which is great as well. Oh, another one, huh?
Uh-huh.
So you want to talk about this one too?
Oh yeah, what's going on? I mean,
just this summer, I had a chance to. Man, that's a really nice pic. I remember taking it. I didn't. Did I post that?
You did.
No, someone posted it. But anyway, I had a chance to actually sing the opera Omar, which recently won a Pulitzer Prize by a very good friend of mine, Rhiannon Giddens, whose face is underneath the sold out marker. She was the musical director for the Ojai Music Festival in California, and it was amazing. The character that I played was recently off the ship, the slave ship, and he basically was talking about he couldn't breathe. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know his name. And then he ends this whole aria with, "I had a mother once." And that was so powerful because it reminded me when George Floyd cried for his mother. It was talking about how he couldn't breathe, and it was so vivid, and just that whole experience took me on an amazing journey of African people from Africa to America, and that whole process. And it was very touching, very amazing to be with some phenomenal, world-renowned artists, and to make music together. So I've had some great journeys, that actually, oh yes. The 2 guys on the end, Cliff Jackson and Everett McCorvey, 2 giants in my life, since I've been here in Kentucky, is when I met both of them. And they have poured into me in ways that I couldn't possibly imagine one would pour into another. They've given me so many wonderful life skills, not only as pertains to my family, but also my career. Cliff Jackson has just prepared me for a debut role that I'm going to be doing here in a couple of weeks, Amanazro in Aida, and just his wisdom has been boundless. And I love him for that, and his love for Christ as well. As you know, I'm a believer, and my faith is very much part of who I am. In so many different ways, and I carry that through every facet and every fiber of my being. And he has been so instrumental in proclaiming his faith and his profession, and that's been great. And Everett McCorvey, everyone knows Everett, just a pillar in the community. He's mentored me and continues to mentor me in so many wonderful ways, and that has been priceless information that I've received from him. And the gentleman right next to me, his name is Tyler. He is a young man who's coming up, who I had the pleasure of teaching. He was in my class this past semester. And so I've seen him grow over the past couple of years. He's known me for a long time, but I've had just to plan about a year and a half, and actually talking to him on a more regular basis and mentoring him as well. But just to see the future, he is truly the future of African American men in our profession. And what a wonderful future we have ahead of us based on who he is and his amazing talent. So, great picture. Thank you, Marshall.
Were you at a
but they all
service,
tell really
or?
fantastic. That was actually the performance of a doctoral student here. Her name is Jasmine Salivarios. She did a whole program that was very eclectic, and it pulled from all different genres of spoken word, music, orchestra. We had a choir there, and it was about the story of Jesus Christ through the beginning, not through the birth, but through his crucifixion and to now. And it was just really touching. The story. Very, very, very great. And I had the opportunity to sing in it, and Everett conducted, and Tyler, he played trombone. He plays trombone.
Okay.
So he played trombone.
So the next one is probably one of my favorite images that I found as I was trolling you on Facebook.
Yeah, that's a fun image. That's from. We have an amazing program here in Lexington called Grand Night for Singing, and I don't even remember what I was singing. Then I was singing something that's pretty serious.
I know I heard your performance. This isn't it, because you were dressed differently. Actually, no, you were similar to this, but you had your tie undone in your performance of Minnie the Moocher.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had a different suit. Yeah, I had on a suit. A zoot suit is what we call that thing.
That's right.
For Minnie the Moocher. Yeah, so I've had the pleasure to be one of the featured soloists in Grand Night for Singing for the past about 6 years or so. And I sing, they call it a 9th hour song almost every show. And it's that song that happens where people need to change, but we need to keep the attention of the audience. And that's my job. And I go out there and I sing, and I've had some amazing pieces. I've done Minnie the Moocher, and as you say, I've done Go the Distance. I've done a song from Les Mis called Stars. This past year, I did a very interesting song, and it was called I Am What I Am, and it was from the musical La Cage aux Folles. And it's about that particular piece it's basically a drag show, dressing in drag, and this particular song came at a point in the character's life where it's like, I am who I am. I'm not necessarily that person who's on dressing in drag, but I'm this person as well. I'm that person. And I took it from the perspective of I am. I'm Michael. I'm an African-American male living in this society. I have these accomplishments. I'm trying to do more. I am what I am. And it was very well received from the audience this past year. Great, wonderful time I had. I love that.
When I'm listening to you, I am who I am, it's making me think of This Is Me from the Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I get you on the feeling and the sentiment of that music. So thank you for entertaining some of my inquisitions as I totally went into your social media and got all in your business. I appreciate it.
Well, that's exciting. I mean, you had a very good point, Marshall. One of the things you said is, you should share and explore, with people. And that's important because you never know what picture, what word that you say or picture that you post will make a significant change in one's life and their perspective on life.
100%.
And so I think I'm going to do more. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. My pleasure. I will get all in your business anytime you want. Totally fine. You've received critical acclaim of your performances in various roles, including the Phantom in the Phantom of the Opera. And tell me if I butcher this. I'm totally fine. No ego at all. But I believe it's pronounced Scarpia. Scarpia in
Scarpia.
Scarpia in
just
in
Scarpia.
Scarpia in Tosca.
Yeah, so the stress is at the beginning of the word and not in the middle. That's all.
Okay. Scarpia. We'll pretend like I did it right. Okay. I know you're a voice coach, and I'm probably going to drive you crazy. I'm sorry. You know what? It is what it is right now. Just remember, that's not.
I got you, Marshall.
But and then also, playing Jake in Porgy and Bess, and so I have to ask, because these are not like just all lighthearted fun. Like, there's gravitas to a lot of what you're doing on stage. So how do you prepare for such a diverse and demanding list of roles?
Absolutely. It's so funny you mentioned Jake in Porgy and Bess. Well, I've had the pleasure to play every baritone role in the opera Porgy and Bess, which includes Jake, Porgy, Crown, Jim, the Undertaker. I think I'm missing one. I think that's it. Yeah, all of them. I played all of them at one point or the other. And you talk about preparing for different. So it's an opera, but those are different characters in the opera. They come at different points in the opera. They provide different storylines for the opera. And so, you have to really think about, okay, so this is the track I'm on in this show. I have to make sure that I'm thinking like this. I have to make sure I'm going to move my body is going to move like this. I'm going to have this type of, presence on stage. And then you have Scarpia, who was this guy who's like this big cheese in the police force, and he's trying to get with Tosca, and eventually is very physical with Tosca, and I am just not that type of person, so I have to totally switch in this maniacal, evil human being who wants to just wreak havoc on one's life, and then I'm playing the role of Amonasro, who's this king. And then you have Phantom, who is this. I mean, his heart is so pure and so loving, but no, he's crazy man as well. So it takes a lot of preparation to do these things, but it's something that I love. I love preparing roles because I love to figure out the different layers in human beings. I don't think one person is one person. There's so many different layers to human beings. And I, as an artist, I think it's my job to pull back those layers so that I can show the different dimensions of a character, so that I can touch multiple people in the audience and multiple people who are looking at this. I had a woman who came up to me after I finished Scarpia, and she said, Michael, I mean, I felt sorry for you. I hated you. I mean, I had so many different emotions that I felt towards you. Mission accomplished. You're supposed to feel that way. I'm not supposed to just go on stage, bark, and then leave. Then what dimensions do I have? We all are dimensional human beings. Those people with more dimensions are the people we're more attracted to.
I was just going to say,
it or we cannot.
One of the truest marks of intelligence and being able to have thought and independent thought is being able to carry on almost like a multiple personality kind of conversation with yourself so that you can see things from different angles, because we look at the world from our perception, but if we are one dimensional in our personality, in our being, we can only look at things from one perspective. So when you are
Hmm.
able to step outside of yourself and step into another part of who you are, how you think, how you feel, then you can have much better internal dialogue and independent thinking. So I get what you're saying. And I mean, what's the most emotionally demanding role that you've ever played?
Rigoletto and Porgy are
Okay.
two very okay. Rigoletto in the opera Rigoletto by Verdi. Rigoletto is a court gesture in the Duke's court, and he has this daughter. Her name is Gilda, and Rigoletto, that's his only child. One can even argue, is Gilda really Rigoletto's child, or is it just this person who was really young and he cared for throughout? Because Rigoletto is no Rigoletto is nothing in the opera that gives us the sense that he was a married man or a man who had this woman and they had this child. However, he does speak briefly about Gilda's mother, but not necessarily his companion. So that, I mean, there's something going on. Anyway, there's so many different layers. He wants to kill. He wants to bring life. He wants to do all these different things. He wants to make people laugh, but he doesn't really like to make people laugh, but he has to do it. But so many different layers that one has to pull back, not only of his own life, but also of his relationship with Gilda. And then you have Porgy and Bess. You have Porgy, who loves Bess, but is really clear on where he is in society, how he fits in society. Can he have a chance with this woman? Does it really work with her? Will it ever work? He constantly has these doubts in his head about why is she really with him throughout the whole opera. And then at the end, he even thinks she's there, but he has, nope, she's gone. I knew it, but I don't care. I'm gonna get her back because I really love her.
Hmm.
It's just an amazing of what palette of emotions that one can pull from to create the characters. Very exciting. Both of those roles are two of the most complex roles that I've played in my time
Hmm.
performing.
I want to talk about another role. Some people might say that Phantom of the Opera is an epic love story about a beautiful woman and her muddled relationship with a disfigured man. I think
Mm.
invisible scars are much more common. So,
Mm.
if you care to share, what are some invisible scars um, that you have, and how has music helped to heal them?
Oh, oh, wow, that's deep. Well, invisible scars that I've had. One of the things that I've struggled with my whole life is my weight. Whole life. And I have found
I belong to that club as well.
music. I have found my love for and ability to create and sing music to be one of those saving graces for that invisible scar, because it's still there. It's still like this ever present thing that exists in my life. But I know that I can sing, so that's fine. you know. Even in singing, I find myself, man, did I not get that role because I'm too big? I don't
Mm.
but I did sing. I sang my behind off. So that's also something that's there. Um, I think another invisible scar is uh, not necessarily in well, um, just wanting to be, you know, wanting to be right in terms of my output of my music, and so I tend to really dig deeper into lines, vocal lines, to really bring those out. Sometimes when I'm singing, you can tell which ones I really worked on because they're really prevalent. That's a secret, everyone, that I've just given away. Should I have done that? I don't know.
Hey,
But
free
those are
lessons.
two, Marshall. Right, those are two, Marshall, that I can think about, like right, that comes to the
Yeah.
forefront of my mind
And
to discuss right now.
I would just say that, like, your weight, I don't I don't think that in and of itself is a scar. I think it is some of the feelings that come around it, or some of the doubts, or your thoughts of how other people might perceive, and it might impact either your career or situation. I was this resonates so hard with me because I was at a photo shoot, and in the photo shoot there were pictures that everywhere looked awesome except for my midsection. I was like, oh, okay, I need to maybe work out a little bit or something, because like it's captured in
Mm-hmm.
film. I become more sensitive about it. Everybody else was like, dude, what are you talking about? That's an incredible picture. You're the only one who's looking at it. And I think because of, things that happened to us in our past, we latch on to certain things that we view as something that needs to improve or that can be better, or you personally don't like the way it looks. So you forecast that dislike onto the entire world when
Absolutely.
they don't
And
even
that's something
see
is when
you
I,
like that, you know?
in teaching, it's so funny. We often need to practice what we preach, right? In teaching, I mean, I tell my students that all the time. I say, don't forecast your failures, or no, I'm sorry, don't forecast your flaws.
Mm,
You know, don't, you have them, you know what they are, but don't forecast them. Make them better if you think they're a flaw. Make a note of it. But definitely don't forecast. And I mean, that's a very good point. When I think of a scar, one of the things that I say scars, or because, scar, and you're right, how, your perception of yourself, others, what you think their perception of you, they have a tendency to beat you up, to leave bruises
mm,
as you move on throughout the course of your life. And you want that thing to help mend those other things in life. And I found music to be that mender.
mm. Come on now. Come on now. Uh, you, I think you give many of us, people listening, I think you give us permission to be more vulnerable, because when
Mm,
someone who has your level of clearly recognized talent beyond a shadow of a doubt can still battle with some of those things, I think it gives the rest of us permission. I was in a meeting once and I made a mistake on a PowerPoint. There was some edit. I think I left off an Oxford comma or something, and I called it out when I saw it. And the people that were coming after me to present did not have my professional speaking background, but some of them came up and said, honestly, man, the fact that you made that mistake and you joked about it, that really set me at ease. And, we create healing, even if it's just for a moment or an event. We can create
right.
healing for other people by being vulnerable ourselves. So I appreciate you.
Hmm.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. And it's so funny. As men, as African American men, especially, being vulnerable is something that's hard for us because we're trained not to be. We're trained to be that force to be reckoned with in terms of life. And the bottom line is, I think that's been one of the downfalls of us as African American men and coming together and being strong and being one, is the lack of recognizing our vulnerability, because we are,
Mm,
we're human beings. There's so many different facets and aspects of us that are vulnerable, that when we acknowledge that, then they become strong. They become our chi, our strength, our thing, our saving grace in a lot of different situations. And the more that we acknowledge that, live with that, move on from that, learn from that, the stronger that we become. And I acknowledge my strength and my weakness. I absolutely do. I tell my boys that all the time. Yeah, you fell down, you hurt yourself, but what did you learn from it? How do you become stronger as a result of that? Cry, weep in the moment. That's important. I've been crying so much lately, by different things. Sometimes just tears of joy. I see I've accomplished something. I'm looking like, wow, this is so awesome, because that's that release that we need. That release, that thing that says, yes, it's okay. Yes, that's great. And then you go on and you just relive those moments with a big smile on your face, as I am right now. And that's important.
mm. Preparing for roles is one thing. Okay. I want to talk a little bit, and we've kind of already started touching this vein, but I want to talk about preparing for life. You and I have had many conversations in the past, and I think good conversations are the music that I like to make. And I use generosity, emotional intelligence, situational intelligence as my instruments. Off the stage, okay, no lights, no camera, away from the audience, away from the orchestra, away from the mic. How do you make music in your life?
With my family. My family is so important to me. You know, I made some very intentional decisions as a human being throughout my life, and one of those intentional decisions was to build a family. I met my wife when I was a junior in college, and I knew I was going to marry her right then. And we got married her junior year. Yeah, so like 3 or 4 years later, because I knew that was the person who I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, and we have so many different similar values and things of that sort, and so we built a family. We have 3 amazing boys. They have their faults. They have their amazing qualities as well, and that has been just a wonderful thing for me. You know, I love cooking. I love cleaning. I love doing all things around the house. I love doing stuff outside the house. My son and I, we just did a motorcycle racing course, not a racing course, but a motorcycle course last week together. And that was awesome for us to learn how to ride motorcycles together. We played pool together. You know, I've taught them how to ride bikes. So all the different things that one could want to do with the family and build that life with your children, with other human beings who take on your traits and your characteristics. It's a marvelous thing. It's also a scary thing because my oldest, oh my gosh, he has way too many of my traits. And I'm like, boy, if you don't leave me alone, but you know, and it's like, Michael, that's you. So, and I get it. And also, you know, he has some of my wife's as well. Hint, hint. Anyway, that's been just a beautiful thing. Right. That's been a beautiful thing. You know, Marshall, as I told you, I'm preparing for this role. But, you know, I've had 2 weeks, 3 weeks just to be home with my family. And that's been great. I mean, I've used my smoker, and I used my smoker because they bought it for me, and I wanted, you know, to impress them with a meal. And so I smoked 2 chickens, and that was fantastic. You know, just doing different things like that with them and for them has been just an amazing thing off camera. And, you know, a lot of stuff we do off camera is reflected on camera as well.
Uh-oh.
And, you know, the more you do life and you do it well, you realize your faults and you learn from them. You celebrate your strengths and you learn from them. The more you're able to imitate, grow from that type of thing in life. And that's a fantastic thing, and I love it. You know, I love being in that place. But that's my strength. My extended family, my wife's family, knows me better than almost any other in-law. You know, I'm like, they wonder if my wife is the one who's married into the family, because I have that type of relationship. I love family. I love being a part of my people and just getting to know them and getting to see how can I impact their life and what do they have that can help mine. Because the more we're able to do that, Marshall, the better we truly are as a people. And I acknowledge that, you know, I love being a part of other people's families. It's just a great thing. I have so many different friends whose mom I call mom, and it really freaks them out. Not the mother, but the friend. But, you know, this is the way that it is. And, you know, just family. And that's been a big part of my life. That's how my dad is. As many times as I said, man, I don't want to have that trait like my dad. I have so many different traits like my dad. It's insane. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But that's my off camera, if you will.
I feel it. You know, I don't bring pies to just anybody. So I'm just saying. But I've got to ask, you have such a way with words. I think that's obvious at this point. And I know that that did not happen overnight. And I'm just curious because we got to talk, about the family aspect of it, but in your professional career, can you tell me about a time that you had a challenging conversation where you had to communicate and you knew there was going to be a painful melody to the conversation?
Absolutely. I'm going into it's a third or fourth year at the University of Kentucky as a professor of music or lecturer of voice. And, navigating academia is no joke. And so I've always been one who expresses how I feel, regardless of who's listening. And sometimes it's not the best thing to do. And so you have to finesse your words. You have to say things in a way not only that they can be received, but that they can be expressed. Because what is that? Tactical confrontations equals intact organizations. Absolutely. Absolutely. And in a lot of ways, Marshall, you sometimes when it comes to tact, it's difficult when you don't have much time and you have to convey what you need right then and there. And so I've learned that I need to go away. I need to have a retreat for myself and reflect and then express. So retreat, reflect, express. And that formula has worked wonders for me in the course of this past year when I served as co-coordinator of the department. And that ended our year with a retreat so that we can reflect, so that then we can, talk about different ways to make what we do better. And it's been great. Great, wonderful learning experience. But yeah, being there, and also, building Uniting Voices Lexington, that has had its challenges along the way with, just expressing my passion to people and them telling me, for real, keep it moving. It's been humbling. And I reflect back, did I use the right words? Did I say the right things? Did I put it in the right order? And there's always room for improvement. When you realize that, then that's when you become a good wordsmith. When you realize your failures and want to improve upon them. I can't say you're a bad person because you didn't do what I wanted you to do. I have to say, what did I do that can be improved to help you either understand better, even though you still don't necessarily want to do what I'm asking you to do. But how can I improve? Because there's always ways in which one could improve, even though the outcome may be the same. At least you've taken that path of improving. So I think that's how my ability to communicate with people has reflected. It's changed. This, Marshall. We both have what we do now versus what we did at 20.
Come on.
Oh my goodness.
Oh boy.
I was the choir director at a Baptist church in Oberlin when I was 20. If anybody's listening to Oberlin, you know me, right? And I'm so sorry. I love y'all so much. But I was a mess. I said, no, that's wrong. We need to go back. I can't believe y'all sounding like this. Oh my goodness. I wish I had a recorder when I think about the way that I talked to those grown people who was volunteering to sing in the choir, but that was then. And those are lessons that I definitely learned from the choir members. I had this one woman say, you need to watch how you talk to people and so on and so forth. I was like, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't say that like that all the time. Anyway.
Well, yes, been there, done that. My wife and I, we've been married as of January. It will have been our 20th year anniversary.
Wow.
And so
this past January?
No, this coming January.
January.
That will be year 20. And yes, I am not the same person I was 20 years ago. The fact that we're still married is a miracle. But,
hallelujah.
That is another episode. As I just reflect on who you are, which is, not just from a professional standpoint, not just as a father, not just as a husband, faculty member at UK, all of the different roles from being an educator to a community advocate. I have to think about the fact that now you start this new journey where you are the founder and artistic director of Uniting Voices of Lexington. So when I know people are very busy, very involved, and I see them take on something else, I'm like, that had to
What
be
is wrong with
important. That had to be important
us?
because you
Right.
barely had time to just live life already. So, tell us about Uniting Voices of Lexington and the organization and the importance of the work.
I love the way you frame that, Marshall. That had to be important because you're right. When you add with how busy my life is, and to add something else onto it, it had to be important. It has been important for a very long time. I've been talking to folks in Chicago about this for about 2 years, or it's 3 years now, about bringing what the type of experience that I had that helped mold and shape me into the human being that I am today, to bring something like that here to Lexington because our youth need it. We have some amazing youth, talented youth here in Lexington from all different backgrounds, social, economic backgrounds in Lexington
100%.
that could benefit greatly by coming together and sharing their gifts. And so I'm like, we need that type of organization, hence Uniting Voices Lexington. And so, uh, I have, as I mentioned before in our talk here today, I have three boys, and our three boys have had three different experiences as it pertains to their growth in being around other kids of their age here in Lexington. And all of them, I think, could have been more nurtured, in that experience. My boys haven't been on a trip to another place with their peers, and I think those types of things are important. And so, Uniting Voices, building global citizens. I don't want to just have this knowledge and keep it. I want to be able to have this knowledge and share it with our kids and with our parents. These parents around here. I mean, we had an event a few weeks ago, and in the audience were all these parents from different nationalities, different social economic backgrounds, coming together, having a great time, talking, sharing, and that's what it's about. That's what's going to move us from here to here. Lexington has some amazing people here. We have Olympic stars. We have government like crazy. I mean, it's the wealth that's in Lexington of people and knowledge and where they are in this world is immense. We don't all know that. We should, because truly we are better together. And that's what this is all about. This is about bringing kids from every single zip code in the Bluegrass region together to make music with Uniting Voices Lexington. And you're right. It was important enough to make it happen. And that's what I'm doing.
Man, nothing's going to change on accident, but it will stay the same. It will stay the same, but it will not change on accident. That is a fact.
Yeah.
Well, I love that
that
you're doing that because, as you said, we have so much talent. We have so many different things to offer, but it requires bringing together the resources. And then also, whenever we talk about our youth, we are really impacting the future because they're next for making important decisions. They're next for community development. They're next for professional environments that people have to come into and learn how to work together and create pathways for understanding and moving things forward, regardless of what the field is. I don't care if it's fast food or construction or engineering. It takes everyone having some level of development of how we work together as human beings, even though we're different. It takes some level of development when you're younger, or it's harder when you get older. I've seen it. I've been in workshops where I'm trying to help people with that. So thank you for what you're doing for the community. We're almost to a close, but I have these 10 questions that I'm going to go through. It's going to be like boom, 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 boom.
Gotcha.
All right. First one. What's your favorite color or curse word? You pick.
Oh. I thought you were saying both. I was about to give you both of them, baby.
You can give me both. It's totally fine.
No, blue.
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 All right.
I love blue.
All right.
All shades.
All shades. Okay. Favorite movie or song?
Ooh, A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth.
Did
Some
you
live in a world that has walls. Yeah. I know the whole monologue. That's the monologue that I use when I'm auditioning for straight plays. Colonel Jessup's monologue. Yes.
I can totally see you doing it too. All right. Biggest pet peeve?
Not speaking.
So that means
when I look at you and you don't speak. Yeah, when I look at you, if I speak to you, you don't speak back.
Ooh.
Or if I walk into a store and I'm not, that's biggest pet peeve. And kids who don't speak back, come on now. Yeah.
I was just taking my my daughter and my niece to a camp, and when my niece got in the car, I gave 10 seconds, and then after 10 seconds, I said, "Okay, let's start again. When you get in my car, you say," she said, "Hello, Uncle Marshall." I said, "Okay, all right." So I'm I salute you for that.
Biggest pet peeve.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, and even when speaking of being in the car, when you wave or you even you acknowledge, and you might never see that person again, but it gets on my nerves though, because it's like, wow, okay, fair enough. All right.
This one woman, I said hello, and she literally did not speak back. And so then I left, and I had to come back, and I said hello again, and she was like, "Do I know you?" I was like, "Do you have to know me to speak?"
Ooh. Ooh.
It's like, I said it with a smile. I said, "Do you have to know me to speak?"
Yeah.
I said it just. She's like, "No, hi." It's like, "Hi, how are you?"
You said it with the smile, but you were also saying it with your chest at the time.
Oh yeah, my chest, and the voice was definitely supporting.
Mm-hmm. I have zero doubt. Okay.
Yeah.
So, tell me a socially awkward moment or a hidden talent.
Ooh, a socially awkward moment or a hidden talent.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I once was a competitive racquetball player.
How about
so
that?
racquetball is a hidden talent.
Okay, nice.
I mean, I have lots of socially awkward moments that, I mean, there would be too many to list. I had
like
one
someone going,
where,
"Hey, can I sing? Did you like that?" After a performance,
that's real. Like, yeah. I mean, because you don't want to lie.
Yeah, you have some professional integrity. I mean, like your word.
Well, I recently, wait a minute. Ooh, socially awkward moment. Yes. I recently had a moment, and I'm not going to say when because the person may be listening, so I'll leave that alone. But where they're like, I sing, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And they sang, and then they asked me how did they sing, and I'm like, so what color are the napkins on the tables? I didn't say that, but I'm like, nice. And lessons couldn't even help that. But anyway, let's keep going.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I get in trouble.
Fair enough. Okay. What is the greatest lesson you feel you've learned?
Ooh, humility.
Nice. What are you learning right now?
What am I learning right now?
And I don't mean on this interview, but I mean just in life. Like, what's something that you're learning?
Patience.
How has failure shaped your life?
I've gotten stronger.
What are you currently?
I failed so many times. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Let's not expound.
Repeat what you said.
No, I mean, we failed so many times, and I think my strength comes in my failures. The strength comes. If someone says no, then that increases the ask. If someone says I can't do it, that increases the teaching on why you can.
Man.
Yeah.
So what are you currently reading or listening to?
Say that one more time.
What are you currently reading or listening to?
I'm currently listening to Aida. I'm currently reading. Hold on one second. Let me get the book for you. It's T.D. Jakes' "Don't Drop the Mic." The power of your words can change the world. Fascinating book.
Come on.
Fascinating book on the power of words and how they can, really open doors for you and close them. How you use them, how to inflect, things of that sort. Fantastic text. Book here. New York #1 best-selling author, Bishop Jakes, and Don't Drop the Mic.
Don't drop the mic. Okay. Last question. What have you done that I should do?
Ooh. What have I done that you should do? What have I done that you should do? Well, I don't know if you've ever done. Okay, so there are two things. One, I think everybody need to go to Egypt. I think everyone needs. Two, ride a motorcycle if you haven't. I don't know.
I've rode a motorcycle.
You've ridden a motorcycle? Okay, well then that's not it.
Yep. But definitely, as I was asking you that, I was thinking go to Egypt. I was thinking that in my head because I saw more pictures from the trip.
One of those.
And just wow. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Awesome. Well, I have one last request. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so first, thank you, Dr. Preacely, for sharing your incredible journey and some insights with us. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. But if I could just have one last request, which is maybe you, as I'm doing the closing of the show, could you sing us out just a soft,
Okay. Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
I can do that.
Fire away.
Right now? You want me to do that right now?
Go for it.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Marshall, for your vision. Thank you for who you are. Like I said at the very beginning of this time together, when we agreed to do this, I knew that the time that we had wouldn't be enough. I knew because we have so many different things that we are passionate about and that we can talk about. And I think that the world should know it. So my prayer is that they'll continue to learn about us in the very facets that we are involved in. You, PCHATP, and such, and you have many other endeavors that you do. Myself, through Uniting Voices Lexington, through my work at UK and here in our community, my prayer is that people will be able to see the ellipses of our lives through those things.
Ellipsis of our lives, folks. Ellipsis of our lives. Ellipsis of our lives.
Oh, man. One of my favorite songs is called "He Looked Beyond My Faults to See My Needs." And as I alluded to earlier, me being a believer, this song has carried me through and continues to carry me through so many different triumphs and trials of my life. Though the storms keep on raging in.
Everyone, thank you for tuning in. This brings us to the end of another episode of PCHATP. We hope you enjoyed this inspiring conversation with Dr. Michael Preacely. For all of those listening, I hope you sing in the shower, on your way to work, or to torture your kids in the car like I do. Whatever you do, keep love in your heart, and each time it beats, it will be music to your ears. Thank you for listening.
That blessed place he has prepared. And if the storms don't cease, and if the wind keep on blowing in my life, my soul has been anchored in the Lord.
What more do you want?
Where I'm from, where you grow up, means everything. The neighborhood you were raised in could make the city, the world, and your future all look vastly different. But Chicago Children's Choir changed that for me. At first, it revolved around musical excellence, nurturing my love for music into a well-honed skill. But it wasn't long before I discovered that it was about so much more. It was about a shared experience with people from the other side of town, whose backgrounds and passions were different from mine. It was about traveling the world and learning how to make my voice heard. But more than anything, it helped me discover that by celebrating the light inside others, my light only got stronger. It got brighter. And now, I want to bring that light to the bluegrass region. The potential of our young people is boundless. They hold the power to shape the future, and they deserve a platform to share their joy with each other, to share their joy with the world. And we're going to do just that. Uniting Voices Lexington is a choral music education program based on the transformative experiences I had through Chicago Children's Choir. Together, Uniting Voices Lexington will lead the way to a harmonious world.
If you like this episode and if you like PCHATP, you can find and subscribe on all major podcast platforms. You can support us at PCHATP.com. We hope you join us in changing the world by changing how we talk to it.
This episode was directed and produced by Marshall Fields with music and audio engineering by Chris Bergman.